Hello once again. In the position in front of you, white has set the task of delivering checkmate in 5 moves. The strategy to be employed in this problem is remarkably similar to that was seen in a video that I uploaded a couple of weeks ago, Hans-Peter Rem, which also asked white to deliver checkmate in 5 moves. Now, our initial try in that video, we found we could mate in 6, and so we had to pull it back. We needed to look for a device to reduce the number of moves by 1. Now, this is very similar to that. Can you see what white would like to be able to do here? Well, except for the queen covering this pawn, it will be rook here mate, and except for the bishop covering this, it will be rook there mate. So we need to find a device that will interfere with those pieces that are controlling those 2 pawns. Can you see what the device would be? Well, the device in question is knight to here. Now, this looks at a very good move indeed. It looks a winning move, because now white is threatening mate and he's threatening mate. Now, should black take off, the problem here is if he does, he's committing himself to a certain position. If he takes with the bishop, just watch what happens here. What we do is we take here. His only defense is to come here, and in so doing he's relinquishing his defense of this pawn, so it will be rook mate. And if he'd taken with the queen, it's exactly the reverse of that. What we do there, of course, is we take here check, deflecting the queen from his defense of this, and then it's mate. So an initial capture is not a good idea. So what black has to do is, instead of committing himself to capturing, he has to force white to commit himself. So what is black's reply here? To do that, and in so doing to interfere with the connectivity of these rooks. Just bear in mind, if he takes this, it's mate. If he takes this, it's mate. He must play this. It's quite an astonishing move, really, and it's the only move to save the day. So what does white do there? Well, if he takes like this, then let's just have a look at that. The easiest way for black to deal with that is to go here, and white can make no progress, for the simple reason that if he takes here, black just takes back and the bishop covers that pawn. If he takes here, we have double indemnity against the h-pawn, so there's nothing doing. It does work if the bishop captures, but when the queen captures, it does not, so you capture with the queen. Again, if you play this way, this time he captures with the bishop. And what is going to happen here is that if you take here, he will simply take back, and he's backed up by the queen. If you take here, he takes with the bishop, and the queen still covers this pawn, so that doesn't work. So the only move that black has in that position is to play here, and he's threatening rook d3 mate. However, there's only one reply. Well, you only need one defense to it, don't you? Which is that, stopping rook d3. Of course, should white take here, the rook simply takes back, and rook d3 is stopped. Now, you notice in that position that if you try that method of, say, rook here, takes back, rook to there, he can interpose. Similarly, if you take here, takes back, rook here, he interposes again. And those interpositional moves force white to the 6th move before he can checkmate. And all of that explains why an immediate knight g7 doesn't work. It checkmates in 6 moves. We want a checkmate in 5 moves. And that's the similarity with the Hans-Peter Rem study to which I referred earlier. So we're back at the start position. So we need a move that deflects black away from all of that and to reduce it to 5 moves. Can you see what this would be? It is a threatening move, incidentally. I could have mentioned this earlier. When I mentioned that white would like to do this, congrats to those that have seen it. This is the key move. and he's threatening mate on the move. Now, what does black do against that? Well, if he plays his queen to here, you take it, and there's no defense to bishop f5 because the knight is covering the pawn. The king there, the bishop would just take it and it's mate. Should the queen come here, this time the knight takes here and it stops the king from going to g4, and it's a forced mate on f5. Should the queen move to here, it's an immediate bishop f5. Should the queen move to here, then you take it, and by means of rook c3, it's all over. Test that for yourselves. But there is quite simply, in this position, only one defense, and this is it. And this is the whole point of playing bishop c2. You're coaxing the black king onto the g line. You don't want the queen coming here and upsetting the proceedings. So how does white continue against this with bishop f5 stopped? Well, he now plays here. What didn't work on our first move will work on our second move, because we are now renewing the threat of bishop f5 mate, and we're cutting out the flight square for the king on h5. In case you're wondering what would happen if the king came here, the knight now cuts out the queen covering here. It's just rook c3, king back, rook g3, and that will be checkmate. So that just doesn't work. He can't avail himself of that. And if he takes either by bishop or knight, let's just say bishop, or queen I should say, let's just try the bishop. What happens here? Well, what we do is we just go back here, and what we're doing then is we're forcing him back to here. And now if you notice, we are in the position where we can deliver the mate in the aforesaid manner and get away with it. So what do? Well, we take here. There, and it's the reverse if it's the queen. So that works admirably. So there's no question again of him being able to take on the first move. His first move, that is. So what we've done here is we have played bishop to c2. He has played king g4, forced, and then we played knight g7. So what is black's reply here? Can you see any similarity to the first line? Well, congrats again. He does indeed, yeah, he interferes with this. Yeah, that's the way. So, what happens here? Do we take on f5? Or do we go to d1? The problem with going to d1, of course, is that he'll go back to h3. And your rooks are being interfered with, you notice. He can't deliver any checkmate at the moment. That's the beauty of this symmetry here. It's a very good idea. And apart from how white is going to play, it would work and it would extend the mate. So, in fact, what you do is you do take here. And the knight nicely covers it. So, where does the king go? This is the point, isn't it? Where does the king go? Well, he can't go here because the knight covers it. He can't go back here because the bishop and the knight is covering. So he is forced to go here. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, well, the rook can't. No, that's dead right, it can't. But what we can do here is play this amazing move, knight to here. Now, what this is doing is it's doubly protecting this bishop. So what is white's threat here that cannot be defended? Well, he's threatening checkmate there, and he's threatening checkmate there, and he cannot defend against both of those squares. It's just not possible. And if you notice these bishops, how they're positioned, aren't they doing an incredible job there? It doesn't really matter what he does. I mean, if he takes either of these rooks, it's just knight either. You can take your pick. If he moves this knight, it's knight either. If he moves so that he's going to cover the h4 square, you just go to e1. If he tries to move his queen, say, to cover here, then you'd play h4. If he plays to here, you play e1. There is just absolutely no defense to it, and that is a magnificent problem from Aloïs Johandl, yet again from this excellent composer, which I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye for now.